What's up, YouTube? It's Joey from Trillnetwork coming to you guys with another episode of Weekly Review. This week I'm going to be talking about World of Warcraft patch 4.2 Rage of the Firelands. I'm mainly going to be addressing the issues that came with patch 4.2. There are some good things that obviously did come out content-wise and just changes, buffs, nerfs, etc. That's all great, but I'm just pointing out the obvious problems with this patch. So, the other thing is there's going to be no gameplay in this video, just some photos of either A, what I'm talking about, or B, just some funny photos to keep you all entertained. So if you don't want to sit through the video, please feel free to stop watching. Now, one last thing before I get started. There's going to be some, because I'm personally not a big fan of World of Warcraft, there might be some harsh opinions on my part in comparison to, it's going to be somewhat biased. So if you want to put up an argument, feel free to in the comments below. Just no need to entice a trolling sesh. That's all. So, some of the first things that I noticed through reading the patch notes for patch 4.2 was the inclusion of the Dungeon Journal, which essentially makes DBM a tad bit obsolete. The Dungeon Journal includes all the loot, which makes Atlas loot useless. It says all the encounter details and abilities, and even the background story of the boss, which I found to be cool. And this includes bosses for all Cataclysm dungeons and raids. Additional dungeons are planned to be incorporated in future updates. Now, that's great, and that does, it lowers the number of add-ons one needs to use, but there's still that lack of, as you're playing, like DBM would come up and tell you what's happening next. Now you don't have to search websites and go through a lot of trouble to learn the phases and the fights. But that's also a bad thing for those websites that you generally go to, say TankSpot. Now, instead of having to log on to TankSpot to watch a fight, you have all the information right there in game, which is convenient, yes, but takes less traffic to those websites. So from a consumer standpoint, it keeps you much more oriented towards just staying on WoW. And that was the thing about WoW. WoW's community stretches out to a ton of websites where you can get a lot of different information. But does this suggest that World of Warcraft is trying to stop the use of add-ons or decrease the use of add-ons by allowing players to get it all in game? If you all remember, way back when there was the Quest Helper, Quest Finder add-on, I can't remember his name, and then they added that in-game because all the other games were getting it. And I think that's what the MMOs are starting to turn towards, except things like damage meters and DBM. WoW is the first game to basically now include its own DBM type thing. Games are pretty much giving you all the luxuries that you would usually get add-ons for. But that can hurt the community stretching outside of the game, and that's the big thing about WoW. WoW's community is very large. It's spread across website after website, blog, forum, there's a lot of community contribution. I think this is a good thing for the game, but could also potentially decrease the use of add-ons, which is yet to be seen whether it's good or not. A general buff I've seen, which I suppose would be good if they didn't nerf the hell out of all the raids. All healing critical strikes now heal for 2 times the normal heal, up from 1.5 times the normal heal, so plus 50%. Why I don't think that's good, you'll see as it gets later in the video, I begin to talk about some of the raids that got nerfed, and that kind of healing buff would be fine if they didn't nerf the hell out of the other raids. That's a little too easy mode. Now for some Death Knight changes, I'm just going to throw out some changes I found interesting. There was a lot of changes for the class balances, but instead of skimming through the tons and tons of lines of Druid notes, I just figured I'd pick 2 classes and just kind of address what I saw instead of going into everything, because then we go over time. Obliterate base damage has been reduced to 150% weapon damage, down from 160%. I don't think that's really a big deal. I just found it interesting that they nerfed Death Knights a little bit, because from my last experiences in 4.1 before I dropped off, they were pretty balanced, it seemed. Frost. Hungering Cold now has a 1.5 second cast time, and I believe it was an instant cast before. Feel free to correct me. And Might of the Frozen Waste now increased two-handed weapon damage by 3, 7, 10%, down from 4, 8, 12%. Multi-shot damage for hunters has been reduced. It now deals 120% weapon damage at level 80 or higher, down from 137. So hunters got nerfed a little bit. Traps now scale with hunter stats such as hit, expertise, spell penetration, and attack power as intended. Talent specializations. Marksmanship. Careful aim now grants additional critical strike chance against targets over 90% health, up from 80% health, which essentially means at the beginning of an encounter, you have the capability to deal more critical damage, which I suppose is a good thing. But once again, all the content was severely nerfed. And the biggest problem I will get to soon enough. Survival. Black arrow damage has been increased by roughly 40%. So that's definitely a big buff for survival. Now here's the big problem about this patch. Here's what is this baffles me. This is why I can't stand this game currently. And many big WoW YouTubers do agree, and some of them have dropped off, like Total Biscuit, an example, has stopped playing WoW and has been unsubscribed for a while. This patch really has been the icing on the cake for nerfs. All existing Valor points in the currency tab have been converted to Justice points. Any points above the Justice point cap will be converted into gold at the rate of 47 silver per point and mailed to characters. The maximum number of Valor points which can be earned in a week from any and all applicable dungeons and raids is now 980, down from 1250. The maximum number of Valor points awarded from completing Rise of Zandalari dungeons, which is ZA and ZG, I can't believe I just failed at pronouncing that, remains at 980. So essentially, completing both will cap you on your Valor for the week. The maximum number of Valor points awarded from completing heroic dungeons remains at 490. The number of Valor points awarded from killing a boss in Firelands is 120 in 10-player mode, and 140 in 25-player mode. The number of Valor points awarded from killing Akuthar in Barrett Hold, I'm sure I mispronounced that, is 120 in 10-player mode and 140 in 25-player mode. The number of Valor points awarded for killing a boss in heroic difficulty in Bastion and Twilight, Blackwing Descent, and Throne of Four Winds is 35 in 10-player mode and 45 in 25-player mode. And now, what that means essentially is they've lowered the cap, but it's easier to achieve the cap, which I suppose at first it would seem like a good thing. But the other issue that comes with this, and I'm just skimming through the patch notes now to get you there, so if you give me just 1 second, the other problem is the Justice points. The Justice point cap is 4,000, if I'm correct. And Justice points are now available to be spent on Tier 11. Feel free to correct me once again if I'm wrong on any of this, or just I'll post an annotation if any of this information is incorrect. So because of that, essentially a person could receive 2 pieces of Tier 11 in a week. And that becomes a problem, because of that, people can gear much quicker, and all the accomplishments and achievements of players who were working their asses off in patch 4.1 have now been basically turned to shit. Those who downed all BOT, it means nothing now. Those who downed Nefarian means nothing now, because now all the bad players can come in, get geared, and it's just like Wrath. Interject your raid groups, more wipes are going to happen, you're going to have less success because now the bad players aren't learning. They're just gearing. Now, here's the other issue about this patch. The nerfs hit the raids very, very hard. For starters, we have Bastion of Twilight, BOT. The damage modifier on normal difficulty has been reduced for Arion, Elementium Monastery, Monstrosity, Theludius, Ignatius, and Terastra. One of each type of bound elemental in Ascendant Council chamber has been removed, which is bad. That makes it a lot easier. Bound Deluge's Frost Whirl ability now deals 50% less damage. 50% less. That is a huge nerf. Arian. Chain lightning damage and chain distance has been reduced. Cho'Gall. health, melee damage, health of corruption adherent, depravity damage, corruption crash damage, flaming destruction damage, and unleashing shadow damage has all been reduced by 20%. For Cho'Gall, which I've heard was somewhat of a challenge, that's a huge nerf. Corrupting crash and depravity. The amount of corruption they give has been reduced from 5 down from 10. Corrupted bite effect caused by blood of the old god has been reduced. Damage taken from corruption of the old god per corrupted blood has been reduced from 3% stacks to 2% stack. Debilitating beam damage has been reduced by 20%. The duration of twisted devotion has been reduced by 25%. Dragon siblings. Health, melee damage, Twilight Meteorite damage, Devouring Flames, Blackout damage, Unstable Twilight damage, Twilight Zone damage, Twilight Blast damage, and Fabulous Flames have been reduced by 20%. Elementium Monstrosity. Electrical instability damage has been reduced. Veludius. Damage due to being frozen, while Waterlog has been reduced. Halphus. Health, melee damage, fire/fireball damage, Ferocious Roar damage, Scorching Breath damage, and Shadow Nova damage have all been reduced by 20%. A lot of 20% nerfs this patch. That seems to be the common theme. Shadow Nova base cast time has been increased. Ignatius. Rising Flames now increased damage by 3% per stack, down from 5%. Terastra. Hardened Skin now increases physical damage dealt by 20%, down from 100%. Now, if I'm correct, there were also other nerfs to Blackwing Descent. I haven't really taken a look through. I'm going to just read Nefarian. I just found that, so I figure if there's ever a boss to address, Nefarian would be it. And then I'll probably read Omnitron Council as well. Health and melee damage has been reduced by 20%. What a shocker. Animated Bone Warriors take 33 seconds to fall over, down from 50. In addition, fewer animated Bone Warriors spawn. Blast Nova cast time has been increased. Chromatic Prototype health has been reduced by 20%. Electrocute damage has been reduced by 30%. Magma Stacking debuff effect has been reduced by 75%. Nefarian Shadowblaze cast frequency cannot increase beyond 1 once every 15 seconds. Onyxia health and melee damage has been reduced by 20%. Shadow Flame Barrage damage has been reduced by 20%. And Tail Lash damage by 50%. So essentially you can down it a lot easier. Omnitron Council, health, melee damage, and electrical discharge damage, lightning conductor damage, health of poison bomb, incineration, security measure damage, and arcane annihilator damage have all been reduced by 20%. Berry absorb amounts have been increased by 100%. The cooldown of power conservation, converted power chance, has been increased. Flamethrower damage has been reduced by 40%, and static shock caused by unstable shield damage and poison bomb damage has been decreased by 50%. So a lot of nerfs all around. That sucks. Or that's great for bad players and new players who want to do the raid content, but not too fantastic all around. And here's what my friend was saying. I'll have the link to his channel in the description below, and I'll have a link to his channel in the annotation. He was talking about how, essentially, Firelands is not necessarily going to be enough content for one tier. They only released one raid, and and there was a guild that I heard about that cleared Firelands on 10-man normal mode in under 24 hours, faction changed, and then completed it on heroic mode. So, if a very, very good guild can clear it on 10-man normal and 10-man heroic in under 24 hours, or a bit over 24 hours, what does that say for your average player? It won't take you that long to complete all the content. That is a big problem. So essentially, that's not for a whole new tier. That is an issue. That's a huge issue. Now, the last thing I want to address, just on an off note, I found this interesting. Guilds of level 3 or above may no longer be disbanded. So guilds, if you pass level 3, you can't disband your guild anymore. Guild leaders wishing to leave a guild will now promote another member to the guild master first. That seems kind of pointless to me. So essentially what they're saying is, now if you want to leave your guild, make an alt, promote him, everybody leaves, but the guild name's still out there. I just found that to be a little stupid. Well, that wraps it up for this episode of the Weekly Review. Sorry there was no gameplay to follow. I don't play World of Warcraft, or I don't play anymore after 5 years. But that's it, guys. I'll see you guys next week.